In this video we're gonna set the player movement. Okay, whenever we press the D key it will go right, whenever we press the A key it will go left. If we press nothing like that it will stay. So and we also gonna create this idle animation. So without further delay, let's dive into this topic. I will have link in the description of this sprite. You can go and check that out. Okay, so what we're gonna do, go to assets. Okay, go to firstly assets, right click on it, create folder, name that folder to sprites. Okay, name that folder to sprites and hit enter. So we're gonna drag all of the sprites into this folder. Okay, so to keep things organized, so we're gonna drag it into the sprite folder. Okay, sprites folder. I will have link in the description. You can go and check that out. Okay, so you're gonna cut this. Just it's loading up all of the assets into sprites folder. Okay, so just wait for two. So if we go to sprites folder, now we have the hero knight as sprites. Okay, if we go to hero knight sprites, we have the preview as you can see. If we go to so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to sprites. Okay, we're gonna go to sprites, select the main camera first. Okay, select the main camera and F2 focus on. Okay, F2 focus on. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna find the ideal one. Okay, ideal sprite. So this one, as you can see, ideal, firstly we are going to hero knight, then hero knight. Okay, you can see block attack something like that. So we're gonna select the ideal one. Okay, so select the first one, drag it into the scene or into the hierarchy. Okay, hierarchy or into the scene view. As you can see, it's pretty small, we can able to see that. So what we need to do, we need to make the pixel per unit less. So select all of the images or sprites. Okay, as you can see, pixel per unit. So let's pixels means the larger the sprite will be. So we're gonna select 16. Okay, something like 16, and we have to select filter mode to point no filter because this is a pixel art. Okay, that's why. So we're gonna select point no filter and compression to none. After doing that, hit apply. Okay, after doing that, hit apply. As you can see, now we able to see the sprite. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna rename this first. We're gonna call this something like player. Okay, go to inspector, over here you can rename that, or just right click on it and rename. So we what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a rigid body 2D. Okay, rigid body 2D is responsible for adding gravity. Okay, so we're gonna add a rigid body 2D and a box collider. As you can see, if we go to rigid body 2D, we have a gravity scale which selected by 1. This is the amount of gravity which the player will fall down. What we're gonna do, we're gonna select collision detection to continuous. Okay, and if I select the rotator tool. Okay, like it will flip like this. So to restrict like this, we need to freeze the rotation in about z axis. Okay, so what we need to do, go to constraint, freeze rotation about z axis, so it won't able to like this, it won't able to flip like this. Okay, so we're gonna set the rotation in the 0 z axis 0. So what we're gonna do, select the move tool. Okay, so if we now hit play. Okay, if we now hit play, we will able to we will fall down. Okay, we will fall down. So so we also need a ground something like this. Okay, we also need a ground something like this. So just wait for to compile, it will compile and you will able to see the player will fall down as you can see. So what we need to do, next thing, we're gonna add a box collider 2D. Okay, for collision detection. So what we need to do, select the player and hit the add component, find over here by typing box collider 2D and hit enter. So we're gonna edit the collider. So hit the edit collider, make the collider size of this sprite. Okay, something like this. Okay, so whenever you done, and then leave it. Okay, so I'm gonna make the size of this sprite. Now it's predefined, we have box collider 2D. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a ground. to create something. We're gonna create for now. So what we're gonna do, right click on hierarchy. Okay, go to hierarchy, right click on it, go to 2D object. Okay, then a sprite, then select this square. Okay, select this square, and what select the move tool over in the right and drag it down. Okay, we're gonna scale, or we're gonna increase the size in the x axis. Okay, so what we need to do, go to square, and you can see in the transform field we have position, rotation, and scale. So we're gonna scale about x axis. Okay, we're gonna x axis, so we're gonna increase this. Okay, as you can see, so it's now increased. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna also need to add box collider to this square. Firstly, we're gonna rename this to square to ground, something like that. Okay, we're gonna rename this to ground and hit enter. So what we're gonna do, we also need to add box collider to this ground. If we hit play, the player will surpass this ground. Okay, this ground or this white square rectangle. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to also add box collider to this ground. Okay, as you can see. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a box collider 2D. Okay, we're gonna add a box collider 2D. So select the game object, add component, hit add component, and find the typing the box collider 2D. Now if we hit play, we will able to see the player will land on this ground. Okay, the player will land on this ground. So just wait for to compile. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make the animation. Okay, and now we're gonna make the animation, ideal animation. So what we need to do, we need to find the animation tab. Okay, so if you can find the animation tab, you just have to go to in the top, then window. Okay, then general, you will able to find, sorry, not general, animation, or control 6, and also the animator. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna I'm gonna drag this tab over here, something like. So what we need to do, select the player. Okay, select the player, select the player, and we're gonna what we're gonna do, we're gonna create the ideal animation. So hit this create button. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a separate folder. Into that folder we're gonna place the all of the animation. Firstly, we're gonna go to assets folder, and then we're gonna create the animation folder. Then we will save all of the animation into that animation folder. So we're gonna go to assets. Okay, assets, as you can see, we have two folders by which is scenes and sprite. As we know, we have those two folder. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a new folder for animation. So right click, new. Okay, new folder, we're gonna name this to animation. Okay, animation, and hit enter, and double click it. And we're gonna create a subfolder for player animation. Okay, we will firstly gonna to animation folder, and we're gonna create another folder for player animation. Okay, to keep things organized. So that's why, so right click on it, new folder, we're gonna call this something like player underscore animation. Okay, player underscore animation, and hit enter. Okay, hit enter. So we're gonna create the ideal animation. So we're gonna name this, as you can see, new animation. We're gonna call this player underscore ideal. Okay, player underscore ideal, ideal, and hit enter. Okay, if we go to asset, as you can see, we created the animation folder. Okay, animation folder, into that animation folder we have created this player animation folder. Okay, as you can see, player animation. We firstly go, we firstly uh, gone to assets folder, then animation. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag all of the clip, ideal clip, into this animation frame. Okay, so what we need to do, select the ideal. Okay, ideal sprites. Okay, select the ideal sprites and drag, select all of them. Okay, select all of them and drag into this animation folder, as you can see. Now if we hit play, as you can see, so it's pretty fast. And what we need to do, we need to hit this record button, as you can see. So it will capture the animation, or it will record the animation. So we need to hit this one. So what we're gonna do, firstly, hit the record button over here. It will record the animation. We're gonna make spaces something like 30, and play the animation. Okay, play the animation, see if it's good or not. It's little too fast. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag little bit, something like 40 keyframes. I guess it is kind of good now. So and hit the record button. Now it's captured. Okay, now it's captured the animation. If we go to animation folder, okay, we have created the subfolder of player animation. As you can see, we have this player idle, and we have this animator controller. Okay, this is animator controller. Okay, so if we go to animator tab, okay, and if we select the player, as you can see, we are just going to idle animation. If we play the game, we will go over to, as you can see, entry, then idle animation. It will play the idle animation when we start the game, or when we go to the game. Okay, so if you can find the animator tab, you just have to go to window, then animation. You can find both of these tabs, animation, for control 6, and animator tab. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna, firstly, we're gonna drag this over here. Okay, so if we play now, okay, this is game view. As you can see, the game will look like over here, okay, in your PC or something like that. So what we're gonna do, if we select the animator, okay, if we select the animator, as you can see, by default it's playing the player idle animation. Okay, player idle animation. If you go to project, then player sub folder, player animation sub folder, as you can see, this is player idle animation. Okay, which we set loop time to true. If you unchecked this one, so it will just not gonna play all the time. So you have to tick this. Okay, so I hope you get the idea. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create the player movement script. Okay, so what we're gonna do, to keep thing organized, we're gonna create another folder. Okay, so go to assets, right click on it, create folder, and we will call this script folder. Okay, script folder. Into script folder, right click, create a C# script. Or you can do just like this, select the player, add component, make something like player, and you can go to hit the new script. You will able to create the player script as well. But over here it is pretty fine to do. So we are right click on that script folder, and script folder, and choose C# script, and we're gonna call this something like player movement. Okay, and hit enter. Okay, and hit enter. Double click it to open up in Visual Studio. Okay, double click it to open up in Visual Studio, and head again to Unity, and select the player. Okay, select the player and drag this player movement script to the player at component section. So just wait for to compile, and you will able to see that. Okay, you will able to see that. So just wait for to compile, and you just wait for to compile, and you will able to see that. Okay, it's compiling the script. So what we're gonna do, select the player. As you can see, we have animator component which added. This is responsible for animating the character. Okay, as you can see, the animator component. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag this player movement script into the player at component section. Now we have attached this player movement script. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a prefab of this player game object. Okay, if you lost from the scene view or hierarchy, if you delete somehow, you won't able to restore that. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to make prefab of that game object, or copy of that. Prefab basically means copy of that game object. So what we're gonna do, go to assets, right click on that, create a prefab folder. Okay, prefab folder. prefab folder, okay, and hit enter and select the player. Okay, select the player and drag it into that prefab folder. Now we have the player prefab. So if we delete from the scene view, we will able to restore that by dragging into the scene view. As you can see, it's all saved, the player movement, script, animator, all of the things. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create the movement first. So double click it to open up in Visual Studio. So over here, as you can see, the start function and the update function. Okay, start function get call when the game start and it call just one time, and the update function over here calls every time, like in 1 second 60 frame it calls averagely. So okay, so it's call again and again. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna don't need these two namespaces in the top, we're gonna get rid of that. And firstly we're gonna create a float variable. Basically we need a speed to go right and left. Okay, so we need a speed parameter. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a float. Basically float basically means those number which comes with decimals, 1 2 3 4, it's also floats, and zero point 0.5 zero point 0.4 like that, it's also for floats. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a float variable. Variable is just a container, just hold values. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make it public. Public basically means we will able to see over here player movement underneath player movement script. Okay, underneath player movement script we will able to see the float. Okay, so what we, the type of that variable will be float. Okay, float. So the type of that variable will be float, and we have to name that float, the container we have to name. So we're gonna call this something like speed, and by default you can set any value like 1 or 1.2 f, something like. I'm gonna select 2.5 f. Oh, okay, so control s on your keyboard to save whatever you write, and head again to Unity. You will able to see under player movement script the speed parameter will show up. Okay, the speed parameter will show up. So that's why that's why we made it public, so we can adjust in the inspector. You don't need to go over to the script again and again to change the speed. So that's why we have to make those things public. As you can see, speed by default we selected 2.5, but you can adjust over here like this 5 6 7 like that. Okay, so let's say 5. Okay, so that's why we gonna make made it public, so we can adjust in the inspector. You don't need to come over to script again and again. So that's the reason. So what are we gonna do, as you can see, if we select the player and if we select the move tool. Okay, so if you play around with X position, firstly we're gonna go to transform. As you can see, transform is responsible for position, rotation and scale, as you can see. And if we play around the player X position, as you can see, it's going right and left. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create we're gonna need this position. Okay, firstly we need to go to transform, and then this position, and we're gonna add to the X. Okay, some value. So what we're gonna do, so we will go to, we will do it update function, because update function get call every single frame, and we're gonna add every single frame. Basically we're gonna create. Okay, firstly a and D key. Okay, if we press A key we will go left, and if we press the D key it will go right, left and right. So in Unity has inbuilt function which is called input dot get axis. Okay, so what we're gonna go to update function, and we're gonna do input dot get axis. Okay, get axis, and you can pass vertical. Vertical is if you press the W key it will go to up, and if you press the Z key it will go to sorry, S key, it will go to down. So we're gonna deal with horizontally, means X position. Okay, we're gonna do it X position. So what we need to do, we need to pass the horizontal name. Okay, horizontal, horizontal. Okay, this basically this. Okay, basically this checks on your keyboard. If you press the A key. Okay, if you press the A key, this input dot get axis will be -1. If you press the D key, if you press the D key, the input dot get axis horizontal will be plus 1. Okay, this over here, this input dot get access function checks what you pressing. If you press the A key, it will be -1. If you press the D key, it will be +1. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna store it into a variable, we're gonna put it into a variable. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a another float variable. Okay, and we're gonna make it public to see in inspector. You don't need to make this public. For explanation, I am making it public. So that will be type of float. Basically variable are just like containers, as you know. So we can call this something like movement. Okay, movement. Okay, and end up with semicolon. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna store this into this movement variable. So we're gonna say movement. Okay, movement equal to this, movement equal to this, and control s on your keyboard to save this. So input dot get axis horizontal. Basically this over here checks what you doing on your key. So if you pressing the A key, it will be -1, so the movement over here will be -1. Okay, if you press the D key, the this will be +1, so the movement over here will be +1. If you press nothing like that, so this input dot get axis horizontal will be 0, so the movement over here will be 0. So control s on your keyboard and head again to Unity. You will able to see whenever we press the A key, the movement, firstly the movement parameter will show up underneath speed parameter, because we made that public. Okay, public, so we will able to see. Okay, so whenever we press the A key, the movement will be -1. Whenever we press the D key, the movement will be +1. If we hit play, and whenever we not pressing anything like that, the movement will be 0. As you can see, movement is 0 because we didn't set up by default any value. So that's why it's setting up itself 0. So if you press nothing, as you can see, the movement is 0. If I press the A key, the movement will be -1, as you can see. And if I press the D key, as you can see, the movement is +1. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add this movement to our this position in the X. As you can see, if we play around with X position, we just going left and right. So what we're gonna do, firstly we need to go to this transform, then this position. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do it update function, because update function get call every single frame, and we need to check every single frame what we are doing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna firstly go to transform. Okay, transform dot position. Okay, transform dot position basically means the current position of player. As you can see, current position of player. What we're gonna do, we're gonna add this movement to our in the X position. So what we're gonna do, we have to add plus equal, we're gonna add new vector 3. We have to type vector 3. Vector 3 basically has x axis, y axis, and z axis. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move in the x axis only, we're not gonna move in the y axis or z axis, as you can see. So what we have to do, we have to change the x axis. What we're gonna do, we're gonna add in the, we're gonna replace the x axis with this movement. Okay, so the x axis will be -1 or +1. If we set this -1, so it will go left. If we set it to +1, it will go to right. If you press nothing, this will be 0. As you can see, it's going -1, +1, and then 0. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna replace this x by with our movement. Okay, movement. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna not gonna move in the y. Okay, we're not gonna move in the y, and so that's why we're gonna put 0f on the y axis, and also 0f in the z axis. So what we're gonna do, so control s on your keyboard, control s on your keyboard to save these things. Whenever we press the A or D key, we will able to see the player will go left and right. Okay, and if we press nothing like that, the player movement will be 0. Okay, the player movement will be 0. So wait for that, you will able to see that. Okay, just wait for to compile. And if we hit play, Okay, if we hit play, we will able to see if we press A or D key. Okay, the movement over here will be -1 or +1. If we press nothing, the movement will be 0. So basically this exposition will be -1 or +1. Okay, it will go to, and we are doing it update function, and update function get call every time, so it will increase gradually, as you can see. Okay, we if we are pressing like something. So what we need to do, we need to multiply this with time dot delta time. Basically, let's suppose you have super fast computer. So in that case, this update function get call will call in 120 frames in 1 second, but my laptop is it's pretty slower. So in that case, my laptop will run this update function in 1 second 60 frames. So there is huge difference between frame rates. So to make frame rate independence, to make same frame rates, we have to multiply this with time dot delta time. Okay, we have to multiply this time dot delta time, and if you press any computer like that super fast computer, the frame rate will be same now, because we have multiplied with time dot delta time. Okay, so it will make frame rate independence, it will restrict the frame rates. Whatever computer you will use, it will run the same frame rate 60, so 60 in 1 second. Okay, so control S on your keyboard and head again to Unity. Okay, head again to Unity, you will able to see the player will move by 1 unit each frame. Okay, because the movement will be -1 or +1, and update function get call every single frame, so it will just gradually gonna move left and right by 1 unit. Okay, so if we play now, if we play now, we will able to see the player will go left and right pretty slowly if we press A or D key. Okay, left and right. So what we need to do, as you can see, it's pretty slowly. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna multiply. We have this speed parameter, as you can see. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna multiply our movement with this speed parameter. So this so what we're gonna do, we're gonna multiply this. Okay, we're gonna multiply this our speed parameter. Okay, sorry, speed. So the movement will be -1 if we press the A key. So the speed, as you can see, we by default selected 2.5. Okay, 2.5. So the movement in the, if we press the A key, -1 into 2.5, which will be -2.5, so it will go -2.5 in the left. Okay, so control S on your keyboard and head again to Unity, you will able to see the change. But as you can see, we set the speed parameter by 5, so it will be -5 if we press the A key. Okay, so if we press the A key, so the exposition will be -1 into 5. Okay, so it will go -5 unit to the left. Okay, and if we press the D key, so as we know, the movement will be +1, so +1 into 5, which will be 5, so it will go to the right direction by 5. Okay, and we are doing it update function, so that's why as you can see now, as you can see, it's going left and right by 5 unit in the, as you can see. So I hope you get the idea of doing player movement. And if you enjoyed this video, then like this video. Okay, if you are new to my channel, then subscribe it for future tutorials. And if you want to support me, you can support me on patreon.com. And lastly, thanks for watching this.